great edition here of the Ludic Loungecast. I'm, of course, your co-host, Antonicus Maximus, Anthony and my friends. And speaking of friends, guess who's back, crowd?
I am back, you motherfuckers. It's John here. Oh, yeah.
He's back, better than ever.
With so much flowy hair.
Oh, man. I almost want to post the video just because your hair is fantastic, man.
Yeah,
like,
I know.
You're seeing all these videos of quarantine-haired people, but then you just look at you and it's like, dude, quarantine hair, John. I'm digging it.
Works. Wait till I hit Superman mullet length. It's going to be glorious. That's honestly what I'm going for. It's just like the glorious mullet. Not really. I hate mullets, but it's going to be like the rare long-haired Alex Ross Superman that you see like once in a blue moon.
I mean, if there's ever a mullet to be appreciated, first and foremost, it's going to be Alex Ross's Superman mullet.
Because it would be utterly gorgeous and perfect. Because it
Absolutely.
is. But that's just me and my partiality to that era of Superman, because that's like what I remember. At least like when I think of Superman in my head, if I'm thinking with like a kid brain, it's just like, well, it's Superman. That's it.
I mean, that's fair. I mean, that's just like me. And when I think of Batman, I don't necessarily think of like the black cowl and everything. I'm more like the blue cowl with the yellow shield, man. Like that's my Batman.
Adam West, man. TV's Batman. Adam West. Hello, friends. Welcome to the Ludic Loungecast with your hosts, Antonicus Maximus and John. Take it away, boys.
Jesus, I miss you, buddy.
It's good to be back. We had a couple off weeks because of various things, but we're back, raring to go. And boy, am I gonna fuck up this momentum.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that. Things have just been way too structured for me, man. It's been way too structured.
We're gonna just take this plane. We're gonna go off into the ether and eventually land at some random ass island filled with bullshit, because that's what we do. We bullshit.
Absolutely. But speaking of stuff that we're gonna do today. So, folks, at this point... And bullshit. So, folks, at this point, I'm going to give a nice kind of general PSA. John and I are going to be discussing some serious, very, very serious things that have happened in the comic book industry regarding one person in particular. And so if you're not in the mood, if you just came here for a release to kind of laugh and chuckle and all of that, you're honestly going to probably want to skip a good chunk of this because we're going to talk about serious topics. We're going to really kind of lay into it.
It's going to be some sexual assault. So for those that's the major issue: harassment, sexual assault. So if that is something that has happened to you and seriously impacts your state of mind, please feel free to skip ahead to our lighthearted antics later on this episode. But we felt it would be a betrayal to a number of folks that were impacted by the actions of some to not talk about it. So
yeah. And one thing, like John just so eloquently put, if it's something that's going to trigger you, absolutely, because of a past experience or almost a past experience or something that happened to a personal friend or family member of yours, absolutely, go ahead and skip it. But if you're just going to skip it because you're like, oh, get to the funny, I challenge you to actually sit and listen. I actually challenge you to sit and have some of these ideals, listen to some of these ideals and actually ponder these things, because it's one thing to not necessarily look something in the eye because it's too triggering because of a past trauma, but it's another thing to actually sit there and sit with the uncomfortableness, because these are topics, honestly, that we do need to talk about. Not just we as in John and I, but we as society as a whole. And luckily enough, I think we're starting to get into the place where we can have these conversations and actually have people listen. But with that being said, John, let's go ahead and get into it. And I'm going to pass the mic over to you, honestly, because you have more information about it than I.
Yeah, and to be frank, I feel a little unfair to you because I know you're not as entrenched in the comic book industry as I am. So a lot of this hit me harder than you, just because you weren't completely aware of who these people are and what's going on.
Yeah.
but we record these things a little out of sequence with kind of the state of the world at things, and that's not necessarily intentional. It's just the way we've kind of had to record.
Life finds a way.
Yeah, exactly. So a few weeks back, a number of allegations came about regarding a few notable white males in the comic book industry. Not all of them are white males, but they are all males who have taken part in serial predatory corralling, emotional manipulation, grooming. No rape as far as I know, but a lot of this was consensual, but put into a situation where fully informed consent was not possible. And the primary one that I wanted to talk about today, because there were four notable individuals that were accused of such behavior, but one in particular was a very old name in the industry by the name of Warren Ellis. Warren Ellis is a prolific writer. A lot of his work has come to influence a lot of current pop culture. His independent comic Transmetropolitan is very noted for its gonzo journalism, Hunter S. Thompson-esque style humor, where it skewers a lot of politics, and a lot of it has been shown to be somewhat relevant in recent times. And a lot of his Marvel and DC work has proven to be very influential in the movies that have come about in the last decade or so.
So, John, just for the general population that may not be aware, what's probably some of his if you said I had to do like a top 2 or top 3, just so people go, oh, okay, so they get his background a little bit more.
Well, I think the first one arguably is Iron Man Extremis, which updated Iron Man's origin to have him, injured in the Middle East, and the extremist concept, which is a type of future tech, kind of nanotech. It's a butcher of an explanation, but a lot of that ended up being put into Iron Man 3. The president of the MCU at the time of that movie was named Matthew Ellis, after Warren Ellis. The other one I think is The Authority, which is a variation of a Justice League-esque team. And it came around the end of the 1990s, 1999 to 2000. And it's known for its widescreen format. It's very big, bombastic action. It arguably led to The Ultimates by Mark Miller and The Artists of the Authority by Brian Hitch. So they shared artists and sensibilities in the scope of it, and a lot of the tendencies tended in those two works, even though Ellis didn't do anything with The Ultimates. They've bled their way into how the MCU portrays their displays their movies, and how DC kind of does the same thing. So he's a big name, in the industry. Anybody outside of the industry probably wouldn't know him. If I can add a third thing, he's also responsible for Netflix's Castlevania. Yeah. So he was the creator and main writer on that show.
That's probably the I mean, outside of some of the Marvel ties, that's probably how I know him best, honestly.
It's his most current work as far as I can recall, but ultimately the work is unimportant, as it turns out that Warren Ellis used his position as a writer to target over 60 women and non-binary individuals for the purpose of, as I said earlier, serial predatory behavior, manipulation, sexual grooming. He was using these people, these women and non-binary folk, their drives, their insecurities, their hopes for a career in this industry to get himself off.
Yeah.
And a number, we don't know the exact number of people he targeted. It's well over 100, maybe more. But a group of over 60 have put together a website called So Many of Us. It is somanyofus.com, and they have put out a mission statement describing what happened to them, showing that there was clear evidence, and I'm reading directly from their mission statement. Their quote: "There's clear evidence of Warren Ellis using his celebrity status and vast public platform as catalyst and shield to manipulate and groom targets under false pretenses and to coerce private pornography and sexual exchanges." I believe this site is about a week old, and when it came out, I sat down and I read their statement, and I read every single testimonial of these individuals. And when you read it, it is an increasingly infuriating condemnation of this man, because as you go through each person's story, there is a clear trend on how he liked to approach people to abuse them. It is consistent. It was a revolving door. And it's something that should not be fucking condoned at all in a modern society.
It's essentially akin to the Harvey Weinstein.
I mean, and Warren was known back in the day as Stalin on his personal forum, the Warren Ellis forum, and a number of other forums that he had. Turned out a lot of bigger creators later on in the years. Two notable to me are Matt Fraction and Kelly Sue DeConnick. Kelly Sue is the person who's responsible for Captain Marvel being who she is right now, upgrading Carol Danvers from Miss Marvel to Captain Marvel. And Matt Fraction's work with Iron Man, with Hawkeye, were character defining, and they both came out of the Warren Ellis forum, and Kelly Sue DeConnick had a statement, and I hope I don't butcher it too much, but she was not, she never was hurt, impacted. She gained nothing but benefit from being a friend with Warren Ellis. She was never targeted, never hurt, but that doesn't excuse what he did, and it puts the responsibility on us to make sure it never fucking happens again. Yeah. So, I wanted to talk about this. It's just, it's frustrating, because these women, based on their writing, they could have created such beautiful work. Yeah. And because this one guy was more concerned about getting his rocks off, and that's not completely accurate, because he did help some of these people, but it was just so long as he needed them. Yeah. And it was a routine habit of getting them to trust him, getting them to feel something, and then the moment that he felt that their worth to him didn't match the effort, he just chucked him to the curb. Yeah. And it's a betrayal. It's a betrayal of trust between friends, of mentor and mentee. These people did not deserve this at fucking all. And if you are listening and have this opinion that they, because they consented, it's not a problem, or they were asking for it because they knew what they could get, you're missing the point. We relationships like this only happen when it's a two-way street and everybody is working off of the same information. Yeah. Period. if you do not have fully informed consent, it is not okay to abuse the relationship just so that one party benefits over the other.
Well, another thing too, John, that you touched upon, even if, in the moment they said, yeah, sure, this is fine. One thing that you still have to think of is the position of power, right? Like you said, the
Exactly.
mentor-mentee role. Um, and even though someone said, yeah, let's do it, that doesn't still necessarily make it right. That still doesn't necessarily mean just because it said the words, yeah, I want to do this, that their motives behind it or their inner dialogue, inner monologue was like, well, I have to do this if I want to succeed. Unfortunately, I have to stoop to this level if I want to succeed. And that's one thing as a society we need to realize about when it comes to consent. And I mean, obviously, John and I are both white males, so there's a certain specific point of view and specific privilege onto that in itself. But one thing that John and I both agree upon is that mentor-mentoree role, or that boss worker role, whatever that role is,
Or friend role.
right, or just even a friend role. Um, One thing that friends, especially that hold this sort of authority or hold this sort of power, one thing that they have to check in with themselves is, am I taking advantage of this person for my own personal gain? Or am I using this relationship to actually better both sides? Because there's a huge difference between those two mindsets. And it's such a huge difference and such a huge thing that as a society, we need to talk about. We need to start believing stories like this. I mean, folks, like John said, there's at least 60 stories on this website alone. Um, and if that's not enough proof there, once you start digging into these stories, which I will be doing, one of the things John mentioned to me was that how a lot of the stories are so similar and almost verbatim from person to person. And that's how that's how you can, those are some of the telltale signs that that something has gone awry, is one
And
of the stories.
yeah, and this is a living document. I don't know if the creators of this would necessarily agree with that, but I feel like it's a apt term. So if I ever get called out for it, I will gladly change it. But they are open to receiving more stories from people who were similarly abused. So it's what we know now is probably going to change within a couple months as more people come forward. To my knowledge, I don't think Warren Ellis has really replied to this. Some of the testimonials show, some of the personal correspondence that he's been doing, and it also shows the formulaic nature, because it sounds like he's saying a lot of similar things to these people when they are getting in contact. But I just felt it was a responsibility as white males to say, we are going to be part of the solution, not the problem, and to boost out this, to help these people find some kind of closure, and to help educate. One of the best things I think about this website is that it gives frequently asked questions. If you have questions about a circumstance like this, this is unfortunately a prime example on how to learn. They also provide various resources in recoveries tab, which gives organizations to help, articles for more information, academic stuff, books, terminology. So I know this isn't the best way to open a fairly lighthearted podcast, but like I said before, what Anthony and I want to do with the Ludic Lounge and the Ludic Loungecast is to try and be better people, be better allies, and help foster some kind of positivity in this world. Sometimes that is just with lighthearted commentary and bullshittery, which Anthony and I do so well, but sometimes it has to be through the hard conversations, and this is a hard conversation. Nothing I feel is as important as what happened to these women and these non-binary folk. They are the ones that suffered, and it is on us as a society to call out this behavior and say, no more. So,
and just to touch upon that a little bit more, John, too, is especially the point where you mentioned like what we want this podcast to be. While John also eloquently put what we're looking for, or that we want from this platform, if you will, one of the other things we want is to have these difficult conversations. We want you to think. We want you to think about topics that maybe you normally try to ignore, or maybe normally you just don't honestly care about. We like to present you with information from both sides of the aisle. Hell, that's why, a couple episodes ago, I've done Ludic Lives for a few episodes just to give you different perspectives on people's lives and what that looks like. Because ultimately, we can't grow as a society if we're not willing to talk about some of these things, bring them to light, and try to actually facilitate a change to move forward as people, as communities, and as society as a whole.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So if you are so inclined to give yourself a little education, I would recommend that you go to somanyofus.com and peruse the testimonials, peruse the statement, do some growing, do some learning. Yeah. You'll be better for it.
And if for some reason those are too triggering for you to read at a specific time, that's fine. And I understand that. But then one thing I would do to challenge you on that, if you just so happen to not be able to read those, is at least have this inner dialogue with yourself. At least have this conversation with yourself to check your own biases, to check your own point of view, and reach out. I mean, every episode we try to post our Twitter handles, we post our email, reach out to John and I. I mean, we're not professionals in some of these aspects, obviously being white males, we have a specific privilege and a point of view on that, but we can still talk about these things. So
agreed. And I think on that note, we can pivot to a little bit lighter topic, though I think for some fans it might not be light, because we're not going to do them any kind of justice.
So what we're trying to say is awkward transition.
Because I didn't know how to pivot out of that.
Well, you really can't. But one thing that John and I wanted to talk about while planning for an episode was talk about DC, more specifically DC Cinematic Universe, and what a fucking train wreck it is.
And what a train wreck it is, and I'll tell you how it's a train wreck. It's not called the DC Cinematic Universe. It's called the DC Extended Universe.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Are you serious?
What the fuck is an extended universe? Let's walk through the choices of that. Okay, so we have the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Okay, we know it comes from comics. This is the movie version of that universe. DC Extended Universe. So does that encompass everything? It sounds like it. I mean, I get the name now that it seems like they're leaning more towards multiverse nonsense, which is okay with me in a certain extent. I don't know about.
It's fine to a certain extent because in theory, they can do some really creative and fun things, like a Kingdom Come that just kind of sort of rumored, kind of in a hush terms with Michael Keaton coming back.
That comes out of the more recent news, and we haven't had a podcast up to talk about that yet because we just were away for the last 2 weeks. But it is rumored that Michael Keaton might return as Batman in whatever form this Ezra Miller Flash movie occurs in. And the rumor is that essentially Keaton's Batman would be effectively replacing Ben Affleck's Batman as the main Batman of the universe. Because this Flashpoint movie is meant to be kind of a soft reboot. So it would essentially say, this is taking place in the same universe as Tim Burton's Keaton Batman films, which, I mean, take it with a grain of salt, I guess. Nothing's absolutely confirmed, and this might be in part negotiations in the public. It wouldn't be the first time Hollywood's done that.
Yeah. But then again, one of the things when this news dropped that John and I talked about, it's like, okay, what does this mean for Robert Pattinson's Batman that we've seen screenshots of? And
Movie's still going, folks.
yeah. So what does that actually mean? What does that actually look like? Is this going to be more so of a Batman Year One? But then how does that fit with this extended universe? And it's a fucking mess.
I mean, it's essentially, I think they are leaning into this multiverse thing, which is going to be interesting when Marvel starts doing it in the live action movies, because they're hinting at it with Doctor Strange.
Yeah. But
and
at least they built up enough fucking credit to this point to be like, you know what? All right, I'll give you my 2 cents to that, because I'll give you my $1, because honestly, you have enough credit built up with me as a fan that all of this is sequential and it makes sense, and you're building a world based off of this.
And you're also building off of the success of the most famous Marvel character, period, Spider-Man, Into the Spider-Verse, which dealt with the multiverse. Yep. You already have goodwill built in, even though that movie's not tied into anything Marvel Studios and Disney do. You still have, it's the same group of fans who are still going to come out for those type of movies, and they get the concept. It also helps that DC in their TV stuff have done the multiverse to pretty good success. I mean, they did Crisis on Infinite Earths, one of the biggest stories you can think of, and did it to a pretty good adaptation. So, I mean, all of this is kind of brought up by, the Keaton announcement, and my subsequent rewatch of a number of these DC EU films, particularly 3. And they're the big ones. Man of Steel, Batman versus Superman, Dawn of Justice. Yeah, that's appropriate response to that title. And
Martha!
Why did you say that name? Why did you say that name? We'll get to the and finally Justice League. We'll get into each of these movies in a bit of length, because I've rewatched them. I don't know Anthony's rewatch.
The one I actually wanted to rewatch out of the 3 was Man of Steel, honestly, because I remember after watching it, you and I for a long while got into a debate where I was like, you know what, it hits, like it's fine. I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed what they did with the character. And for a while you were like, no, fuck no, it makes no sense. And you and I went back and forth to a point where we're like, okay, I see points, and we found some common ground. So now what I'm curious about, John, is I didn't get the chance to rewatch it because I don't even think I have it here in where I'm living. And I didn't want to buy it again, obviously, because I'm not going to give DC EU any more of my fucking money. But after rewatching Man of Steel, John, how do you feel about it?
Not as harsh. My relationship with Man of Steel is like Anthony said, very contentious. Because I think it can best be summarized as this: on its own, divorced from Superman, it is a good superhero movie. I don't think it's the best. I think some of the choices are wrong. But divorced from Superman, it stands as a pretty strong origin movie. The moment you start thinking about it in a context related to Superman, that movie breaks, as far as I'm concerned. Because of a number of things. I think that having rewatched it, Krypton is still too long.
Yeah, I can see that.
All the stuff with Russell Crowe, as good as Russell Crowe and Alet Zur are as Jor-El and Lara, you don't need the majority of what goes on in that 20-minute sequence. And funny enough, when I watched Man of Steel again for the second time on home video, or for the second time when it came out on home video, I should say, I compared it to the Chris Reeve Superman from '78. Both of their Krypton sequences are 20 minutes exact.
Really?
Yeah, they're within. Yeah, my memory is hazy. I'm almost 99% sure they are 20 minutes exact, or 22 minutes exact. One of the two. I know it's within that range. So they're very close to each other. They take up the same amount of time in their respective movies. but I think you can get the same information, the same kind of relationship with Zod, and set up Zod as an antagonist within a lesser amount of time. Because honestly, you just need the back half of the Krypton stuff, where it's the rocket about to launch, and that you get all of the conflict. And the only reason I say that is, later in the movie, we get all of that information the same time Clark gets it. So we as the viewer get that information twice.
Yeah.
What that says to me is that the producers and creators of that movie think the audience is dumb and we're not going to get it.
Yeah. Or they just want to show off their CGI, honestly. Like,
it could be both. That I'm of the mindset it's likely both, but more so in the former, where they just think we're stupid.
One of the things. No, go ahead, John, because it's gonna tail off a little bit, but it's still regarding the movie, but it's a different portion of it.
So the movie is about, like, I believe, like 2.5 hours or so, and the first hour, honestly, is really strong character stuff. I will say this about Henry Cavill, and this is coming off of the last 24 hours with the computer build. Yeah. Fuck, he's pretty. He's fucking pretty.
I'm sweating.
And the one thing, my fiance and I both agreed on is that A, he's really fucking pretty. B, he really needs to smile more, because when that's fits
so wrong sounding, John.
It's the movie does not let him feel happy. But when
in the movie realm, but you were talking about him as a person. I'm saying, John. So what you're saying is that you look more pretty when you smile.
No. That is not what I'm saying at all. I'm talking about relation to the movie, because it's a much younger Henry Cavill than I think most people are used to, and it was kind of shocking to see him in this, because it was just like, oh, he was young. I mean, he was probably still in his mid to late 20s, but it was just, or however old he was. I don't remember, because I know the movie puts him at 33.
Right.
But that's because they're trying to force a Jesus analog on him.
Yeah.
Which doesn't work.
Yeah, that's I'm going to hold that one for Batman v Superman.
Yeah. I mean, I could talk about it a little bit more, and what the intention originally, as far as I know, is because there's a lot of Christ imagery that's put into Man of Steel, and then later, and we'll touch upon it again in BVS, but Superman was created by two Jews from Ohio, one from Canada, and essentially Superman is more of a Moses analog than a Christ analog. He's meant to show us the way, and they use that language. They pull from All-Star Superman, and all this stuff about you're going to be a guiding light, and while they will stumble and fall, that you will show them the way. It is a very poor paraphrase. But
it makes sense for the context, obviously.
Yeah,
I picked up a lot of that. I mean, I haven't read All Star, but I gathered enough to be like, oh yeah, okay, parallels.
Yeah, and so one of the things that my fiance and I thought we wanted more, we enjoyed and wanted more of, is Clark wandering the globe, and that comes from another variation of the origin, where as a young man he travels the world just to kind of find himself and learn about this planet. So a lot of the stuff in the early part of the movie where he's just kind of wandering and doing shit, that's great, and Cavill's really great in it.
And it plays like an homage to Superman 2, essentially, when Chris Reeve does kind of the same thing, where he's walking the countryside, and he's just trying to find himself and trying to figure out. Again, I'm not going to go into the whole synopsis of Superman 2, but essentially he's trying to do the same thing, trying to find himself, and that was very well done. And again, like you said, that was one of the things that I appreciated about Man of Steel 2 was that. Now, one of the things I remember we argued about was, in your original opinion when you first saw it, is you weren't too keen on that, if I recall.
On him walking around and doing stuff. I think I might have been. I honestly don't remember. I think, if I'm clearly going to backtrack that, because I don't think I would agree with that now.
But again, this is what year did that movie come
The
out?
movie came out 2013.
So we're talking 7 years ago.
Yeah,
we've kind of grown a little bit in 7 years.
Yeah, and I've done a lot more reading and trying to get an understanding on the character. So I appreciate any effort to ground him in the world, not necessarily just to kind of, and I don't mean ground him in the sense of make it more realistic. It's just like, I think Superman needs to have an understanding of the people in the world and the various cultures of the world. In order to be any kind of unifier, you have to be willing to, take and learn, shut up, learn, and listen, and take what they're giving you. I don't know if Man of Steel does that completely well. I think that they were on the verge of that. If they had stuck with that, traveling the globe thing more, but they jump to him in the Antarctic, and then we get Lois Lane in the Kryptonian ship.
Yeah, that's since you kind of opened the door a little bit. Before I jump into my point about it, they could have cut that Krypton scene a little bit and added more of the wandering around. And I agree. I think that would have done more for the film.
Yeah.
The door you opened talking about Lois Lane, I love Amy Adams. I'm going to just be on the forefront saying that I think she does great work. I think that she's brilliant in just about every role she decides to take.
I think we're on the same page on this one, but go ahead.
I don't think she was a good choice as Lois Lane. There was no chemistry.
I agree.
Yeah, there was no chemistry between her and Clark. It was just, it felt forced because he's Clark, she's Lois, so they have to put them together.
Oh, dude, don't get me. We'll get there toward what happens at the end of that movie, right before the climactic fight with Zod. But also,
sorry, I had to.
What the fuck was that?
With my Superman 2 General Zod when he's like, kneel before Zod.
Come, son of Jor-El, kneel before Zod.
General, would you like to take this outside? That's the best. That's like, when I think, again, loyal listeners, maybe a while since you've watched Chris Reeves' Superman 2, but the best part of that, which I wanted to be so encompassed in Man of Steel, because it's forever burned in my mind of what Superman is, outside of the Max Fleischer TV cartoon reel, is that Chris Reeve goes and he finally finds himself and he goes to actually fight off General Zod, who at this point, for all intents and purposes, has taken over the world, taken over the United States, ergo taken over the world in this realm. And he goes to fight him. He goes in the most Boy Scout, awesome way possible, says, "Excuse me, General Zod, would you like to take this outside?" Like an old, just like, hey, son, let's take this fight outside so we don't hurt anybody in this bar. And it was just like the most, like, just great.
It's honestly a quintessential Superman moment.
Absolutely.
It feels so in character to what he would do.
It totally makes up for the, like, kiss that makes Lois forget about her memories, as well as taking his S off and throwing it like a frisbee.
Yeah, that gets a little too Silver Agey, weirdness that I don't think holds up too much anymore. But I agree about Lois. It's something with Amy Adams does not fit, and I don't know. For one of the things that my fiance and I felt that Lois needs to be is aggressive and certain, and Lois takes no shit and gives just the amount of shit in return, and Amy Adams honestly felt too soccer mom.
Yeah.
And the other thing is that, I think Lois needs to be a brunette. And I think that, and something that Chelsea, my fiance, put out is that she thought Lois should have been someone of color. Like when she thought of Lois, she was like, I kind of want to see, a young, a smart, sassy black woman. It's so, and that might not necessarily work. I mean, you give the job to whomever's the best for it, but Lois needs to have all kinds of attitude, and she needs to represent the best of humanity. That's why Clark loves her.
Yeah.
In her, he sees the best of everybody.
honestly, my quintessential Lois is from Smallville with Erica Durant's playing
Mm,
Lois, as she hit all those points. Like the brunette thing doesn't matter to me, honestly.
yeah, because Erica Durant is not that, but
Yeah. I think she did go brunette later in the season. Anyway,
but like for me, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, I would say the bigger point is that she was confident.
Yeah.
She took no shit, and at times she put Clark slash the Red Blue Blur in his place.
Yeah, and I don't think that happened enough in Man of Steel. And for me personally, my Lois is Dana Delaney from Superman the Animated Series.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That is honestly 100% the best Lois. You know, but this is coming from a very limited experience with Smallville because I always resented them for doing everything but the capes and tights.
That's why I did the whole Red Blue Blur, because that was a funny fucking insight thing, because he wouldn't put on the tights.
I fucking hate it. It's just like at a certain point you're doing a Superman show. I know you hate it, buddy, but come on, commit. But you're right about Amy Adams. She and Cavill, there's something missing. It feels heartless, and to be honest, I think that Lois and Clark's love story should be the most. It should be fucking hot, man. Just to be fucking blunt about it, it needs to be fucking sexy. It needs to be hot. It's like the scene in it sucks to compare it to the Chris Reeve one, because the 1978 Superman is a pillar of that genre. So and Chris Reeve's performance defines Superman, for better or worse. Everybody will always see Chris Reeve before anybody else. I think at this, even over George Reeves or any animated incarnation.
I think George Reeve is out of the lexicon at this point, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, and you only get that because you only get George Reeves because if you go deep, but to be honest, he's better than Dean Cain. But
but it doesn't take much to be better than Dean Cain, honestly.
I know he's just an idiot, and I want to make fun of him. But I always think back to the interview scene in Superman between Lois and Clark, and she's like, "What color underwear am I wearing?" And she's behind the lead planter, and he can't see it. And then he's just, "Oh, pink." And he just gives a little smirk, and they're just like, "Oh, that's how it is."
No, it should be sexy, but honestly, on top of that, it should be a struggle of a relationship, right? Because if you think about it, he's Superman. He is essentially a god. He is an alien god that came to this planet who is masked amongst the people, but it's still like very vulnerable. And Lois just literally feels that piece that he's missing in his heart, because she's not this all-powerful being. She is a human being, but she shows so much strength, so much courage, that Clark feeds off of that, and that's what makes his Superman so great and such,
I agree. Yeah, and honestly, I feel that's something that's missing here in Man of Steel. So I think Amy Adams is an utterly profound miscast.
Yeah, I agree.
And I hate to say this, but it's just like she's not fit. Like, I hate to reduce her to physical attractiveness, but it's just like she feels like the girl next door instead of the woman that would cause every single man's head to turn. Because I think that's what Lois can do. Yeah, just in part, it's a combination of her physical presence, and her personal presence. I
think she plays Lois to where she's cowering before Superman, whereas it's complete. I'm in my mindset, it's the complete opposite. In a sense, Superman cowers before Lois, right? Because Lois is so confident, so cocky, she knows what she's doing,
and she calls him on his shit.
Just because, again, like we keep harkening back to the old school '78 Superman, but that's how it was. Like Superman / Clark, well, Clark specifically, but would just shrink. He would just be like the shadow of Lois, because Lois was so confident, so had to hold so much power.
What I do appreciate out of Man of Steel is that they do bypass the love triangle of Clark, Superman, and Lois. That she immediately figures it out.
Because she would, honestly.
She would. What worked in 38 is not going to work in 2013, and it sure as hell isn't going to work in 2020. So I appreciate
one thing
that.
I want to give Amy Adams. I know as a whole we're both in agreement as far as the miscast, but again, you watch it more recently, so you can tell me how it goes. But in my mind, when I watched it the last time I watched it, the scene where she's actually interviewing him in the interrogation room.
Yes.
I feel like that still hit because there wasn't that there wasn't no sexual tension. It was her like, no, you're a fucking story, and we're gonna get this story straight.
I agree. That honestly, that feels like an audition scene because that feels like it is still that's where one of the moments he feels the most as Superman.
Yeah.
And that is her strongest moment as Lois. It kind of gets away from her because the scene moves on from her.
Yeah.
So she doesn't get to keep up that momentum, but that is the strongest she is at Lois. And I wish that they gave her more of that. A lot of it is just lip service to what Lois is in the books.
I think we kind of put the plug in on Lois. One character I want to move on was kind of the rest of the cast. More specifically, I want to touch Diane Lane. I think does an excellent job as Ma Kent.
Yeah. To be honest, I and Chelsea and I came to the same conclusion. We felt that a lot of the aggressiveness and stubbornness that we wanted to see in Lois ended up in Martha.
Yeah.
And honestly, I know that joke's never going to go away. Honestly, we can position this as a conversation about the Kents because there is definitely a conversation to have about Jonathan and Martha Kent as they're portrayed in this one. Because I like, and I'll focus on Martha, and I have a very specific stance on this version of Jonathan. But honestly, I feel like part of me wanted Diane Lane to be Lois. I think that she has a better chemistry with Henry Cavill. I think that I appreciate the age flip because Amy Adams is older than Henry Cavill, so it is a senior junior in favor of the woman. Right. And it would still be that case with Diane Lane. And if you give Lois the same kind of attitude that they are giving to Martha in Man of Steel, I think you have a more complete Lois. To bring it back to the actual character that Diane Lane plays, not who I wish she played, I think she is one of the highlights of the movie because I think that, and I don't think they completely do this because they fail a little bit at it. She is the humanity side. She gives the humanity side to Superman a little bit. Yeah,
I agree. She plants the seed of like what humanity should be. Yeah.
And the one thing that that happens in this movie that frustrates me is that they keep putting all of these things up to Clark and assuming the decision. He never gets to make the decision himself, it seems. He doesn't decide when to reveal himself to the world as Superman. He does it because Zod is saying, I need you.
Yeah.
He puts on the suit because the holograph projection of Jor-El tells him he needs to. He doesn't decide to do it himself. Yeah. He does it because, well, Ghost Dad told me to.
Yeah.
Everything about this Superman is somebody told me I should do it, so I did it. It's not, this is the right thing to do, so I'm going to do it. That's Superman. And the fault, I think, comes to Jonathan. Their portrayal of Jonathan was
very cold from what I remember.
Yeah, and Kevin Costner just can't. He doesn't have. I don't think he has the range. For what Jonathan requires, it's not something for Kevin Costner. I don't. To be honest, I don't know who could do Jonathan.
Honestly, Nick Offerman.
I mean, maybe. Yeah, I could see it.
well, that's neither here nor there because he's already
I know.
cast, right? But one of the things I want to touch upon with Jonathan is the death scene, essentially the catalyst to make
Yeah.
Superman, Clark, turn into like what Superman will become.
Because if we go back to the 78 film,
Oh, I love that.
Jonathan's I mean Jonathan's death in the 78 film, and I'm trying to figure out who played because it's an old
Yeah,
legend.
yeah. So I'll filibuster while you're looking.
Yeah.
But essentially, the one scene in particular, like he didn't have many lines. He still had certain lines with with the early. Well, I'm not sure the child actor, but with early Clark. But the death scene of Jonathan Kent in the 78 Superman is haunting.
It is Glenn Ford.
Glenn Ford, there you go.
Glenn Ford was a legend, I believe, in the golden age of Hollywood. So, and it, not to steal Anthony's thunder, but his death is just a simple heart attack.
Yeah.
It's just like he has this moment with Clark. You were put on this planet for a reason, and it's up to you to figure that out. But I know it's going to be something amazing. And then his death is to teach Clark, you can do amazing things, but you can't save everybody.
Yeah. And again, just if you haven't seen the 78 Superman, please do, first and foremost. But the death scene and why it's so haunting is that it's a normal day, which is actually like a heart attack, honestly. Mm-hmm. It's a normal day. And Pa Kent is sitting on the porch and just in his rocking chair, and all of a sudden just literally keels over.
No. Clark, a dog, their dog comes up, and Clark races the dog. He's like, come on, Pa. And then Jonathan starts racing, and then he just grabs his arm and he's like, oh my, and just keels over.
Yeah. And it's just so haunting because it's like a sudden just ka-tunk. And again, what I appreciate about the suddenness of it, because that's also a teaching moment for Clark. It's that these people need protecting because they are a fragile race. They're a strong and courageous race, but they are very fragile, and at any moment they can go. So I need
some of the things that happen to them are beyond your abilities.
Yeah, are beyond your abilities, and I also have to make sure that the time I spend with them, even if it's only for a second because I saved a tree out of their dog, I have to make sure that I put such a great emphasis out there of who I am and who I want to become. And it's a beautiful thing, man.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that they half-assed that message with the Kevin Costner Jonathan. He's more concerned about it. It's more based in fear. He's just reacting out of fear. He's not trying to teach his son how to be better. He's trying to teach his son, you need to be afraid and you need to be aware.
Yeah, conceal, don't feel, because as soon as you show you're different, they're going to hate you. Which, I mean, there's a message in there, and I think that message rings true in general. But for Superman and for what he needs that inspiration. He needs that person to say, like, yeah, you're different, but you can be so much more. You can grow above and just beyond and be the catalyst to the change of these people. And it's just, again, I think Kevin Costner just missed the mark. Again, he doesn't have the range, and I think it's just the writing too, honestly, which is a huge thing.
I agree. I think it is both his what he's able to do with that character, and I think it is beyond what he could do, and the writing. But I also think that it's because the movie failed to use Martha properly as the counterpoint.
Right.
I think that they certainly try, and I think Superman Birthright, which is a version of the origin that this movie pulls from a little bit, and how the Kents are portrayed in Smallville, do that better, where they position Martha as the opposite to Jonathan, saying you can't do this because they were going to take you, and they'll be afraid of you, and you need Martha to say, yeah, that's going to be the case, but that shouldn't stop you from being all of you, because the world deserves all of you.
Yeah. No, I agree, man. And then moving on to
the tornado scene was just bad. It was bad.
About to say, moving on to his death scene.
It was, and in versus the heart attack in the 78 Superman, Jonathan's death is that he gets sucked up by a tornado. He's trying to save a dog. Right. And he tells Clark, don't keep yourself hidden, protect yourself. Don't worry about me. Let me go. Which is, half of the shit Superman does is save people from natural disasters. Hell, the Superman Returns video game, the final boss is a tornado.
God, I forgot.
I'm not kidding.
Oh, Christ.
I played that game. The final boss is a tornado.
Oh, Christ.
So Superman could beat a tornado. And at that point, he could have stopped a tornado or done something to protect his dad. And they imply that it's an open secret in Smallville that Clark Kent has something.
That something's going on, yeah.
Yeah, they play that up in this movie, and I think that comes from I think it's from Birthright. I don't know. I think some versions of Superman, that's how they do it. They just imply that everyone in Smallville is just keeping him safe because he's one of them.
Right.
But the tornado scene, it doesn't work. It's trying to it's all in favor of the argument that he has to stay hidden, which you don't. It's the Hulk problem. You want to see the Bruce Banner turn into the Hulk, but it sucks for Bruce Banner because it screws up his life every single time it happens. But that's what you're here for. You're here to see Green Monster go smash. And eventually Marvel figured out a way to get around that problem.
Right.
With Man of Steel, there's a lot of things that I think could have been changed. I think that when it came to the suit, he needed to earn it. Putting it on because Ghost Jor-El said, this is your heritage, still feels hollow. And that, I get that it's nice to have it for that first flight sequence, but I think you still get the power of that flight sequence, even if he is still in civilian clothes.
Yeah. Or you could have done a thing to where it's like it starts off in civilian clothes and he's a little bit younger, and then like he ages a year or whatever, and it transitions to him in the suit or something like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for my thought was this: in order to get him to earn the suit, and it also ties into, the argument I made earlier that Clark never makes a choice. It is always something foisted upon him, and then he reacts. When Zod comes to the planet, he makes the declaration, you have 24 hours to give me Kal-El or whatever it was.
Yeah.
I always thought that he should have threatened to blow up a city and then went to do it. It's just like, in case you think I'm not serious, say goodbye to one of your precious cities. And then he hits something and it's, some kind of missile, and, everybody's watching all of this stuff on the TV. And Clark, at that point in the movie, Clark is in Smallville, and he's with his mother, and you should have his mom turn to look for Clark, and he's gone.
Yeah.
And you just cut to, the ground moving fast, and he's trying to stop whatever, and the big reveal when the thing stops, the blast stops, it's Superman.
Yeah.
That's the reveal. You get that in the 78.
Yeah.
And with the helicopter.
And like I said, and that would have been such a great touch, especially like harkening back to the first appearance in Action Comics where he's holding up the car. You could have something like that. He's like holding up the missile before it hits the city or something like that.
Yeah, or he grabs a car to blow up whatever the hell Zod just threw at him or threw at the planet. Just that way you get that nice homage, which I like. Thank you. You gave me a new idea. Yeah. And you immediately show that Superman is a friend, which is something that, I'm referencing an argument that Christopher Reeve had where it's just like, all Superman should be, he's a friend. He's a friend when you need it most.
And you know what would have made that scene even better is if like that car he grabs or the missile or whatever, if there's like somebody like it's about to hit somebody or crush somebody, he just grabs it, he turns and looks at the person, just smiles and like gives him a wink or just smiles at him, and then like that heroic Superman theme goes, and then like whoosh, and he off. Like that would have been like you said, the mentioning how Superman isn't really portrayed as a friendly and warm person, and that would have just flipped that fucking thing on its switch, and you go, okay, that scene itself, boom.
Yeah, and and then it gets rid of the whole, is he friend or foe scene when he surrenders himself to the military. You know,
Right.
because that's very ominous, and it's just like, you know, I want to talk to Lois Lane, and it's just all this, you know, kind of, you know, cold bullshit that got foisted onto Cavill's Superman, and it's just like, no, you need to establish him as the friend. Now, I'm trying to think where the movie goes next.
Well, you already brought up Zod, and I wanted to talk
Yeah,
about Michael Shannon's portrayal. I think originally I was cold on his portrayal. I remember talking to you about that. But
yeah,
thinking back on it, I think I've warmed up to it, and I think if I gave it a rewatch, my mind would probably change a little bit on that. I think looking back, I think he did an excellent job for what was written as Zod. Um, and I think that ultimately he's a great actor in
yeah.
himself, but I think he did a good job as Zod thinking back.
Uh, to be honest, he's one of the highlights of the movie. He is the most consistent
Yeah.
throughout this movie. And I think it's, you know, it's the Tim Burton problem where they care a little bit more about the villains than the hero. So, you know, Burton cared more about the monsters in Joker, Catwoman, and Penguin than he did in Bruce Wayne. I think that applies here. I think, you know, the Krypton in this version of the story is, you know, everybody is genetically designed to fit in their place. If you are, you are meant to be a soldier, so you're going to be a soldier. That's what Zod is. He is designed to protect his people, and he's going to do whatever he can to ensure that happens. So in light of that, Zod does everything within that creed. Right. The problem is that, you know, Superman does not do enough to help Zod, because I know recently it's been, you know, Zod has been concerned about, you know, recreating Krypton, and Clark has helped him to some extent by just going somewhere other than Earth. You know, it's just like, okay, we're gonna end this. You and I are gonna go someplace far away, and you are going to rebuild Krypton and just live your life. I mean, that doesn't lead to a movie,
Right.
but there are certain things that happen in this in as a result of in regard to that I don't necessarily agree that Superman would do, because like that ship that we find that is essentially the Fortress of Solitude substitute, is essentially an ark. You know,
Yeah.
it has it contains the genetic structure of all Kryptonians within it. And, you know, Zod wants it because that allows him to rebuild Krypton. And during the climax of the movie, Superman destroys the ship and destroys that, you know, receptacle of genetic goo, you know, which comes into play for BVS. And we'll get to that. But, you know, he does it. He yells, Krypton had its chance, and then heat visions the fucker up.
Yeah.
Which is just like, Superman kind of just committed genocide against his own people.
Yeah.
Which is fucking fucked up.
Yeah. And like, I get the argument that some have made regarding that, saying like, okay, well, you know, he was raised amongst, you know, humankind, so obviously he's not going to hold an allegiance to this. But if you think about it, any other person would not just instantly vaporize that. They would give it a chance to say, okay, this can be something. Maybe I can learn more about my culture, my people.
And that's something that, you know, is part of the movie where, you know, Jor-El is like tells Clark, you know, this ship is here so that when you are ready, you can lead both Earth and Krypton to where they need to be.
Yeah.
Because, you know, the Krypton as it was for Lara, for Jor-El, for Zod, if they just rebuild it, the three of them, they are doomed to repeat the mistakes of their past. They need to change, and Jor-El realizes that. Lara realizes that. That's why they both agree to send Clark off. Zod is incapable of doing that, because he buys full into what he is designed to believe.
Yeah,
you know, there's no changing him, and that's I think what the problem with that I think you have with Shannon's performance, and I think this might be a subconscious thing, is that Zod isn't making a choice. He's just going with what was given to him, and he believes it's his choice.
Right.
that, and that's just something that occurred to me just now. He has no choice. He's making a choice, but it was the choice that his culture is telling him he needs to have, not something that he decided to do for himself. Because arguably he was surviving when the Phantom Zone ripped open and he got farted out of it.
Yeah, I mean literally just about.
Just, it's gonna be interesting for you to edit that one.
Yeah. Right. So I think overall,
I'd like to talk about the Kryptonians and the fight sequences a little bit.
Oh, you mean okay? The three versus
yeah.
They destroy a Best Buy.
Yeah, they destroy
product placement.
A Best Buy, a Sears, maybe a 76. That's the spirit.
Yeah, right.
But I think we get a couple Kryptonian interactions. I think the most memorable one of them is Feora, the replacement Ursa. Because we have a Zod, we don't have an Ursa, we have a giant Kryptonian that's kind of a non. This is all tying back to Superman 2. But Feora honestly is a force of nature. What was the actress's name? I forget, but I mean,
I can't pronounce it. Antiji Trow.
I think it's Angie Trow. I don't.
Yeah.
That's the best the pronunciation I can come up with it. But I think she has a great presence. She's great against Christopher Maloney, who's a fucking MVP in this movie.
Yeah, great.
Chris Maloney is the fucking man in this movie.
He did a damn good job. I will give him all the props in the world.
And a hell of a death, too. A good death is its own reward. It's just like they had a nice tete-a-tete between Feora and Chris Maloney's character. I don't even remember his fucking name. I'm just going to call him
General something. Or just call him General Stabler.
General Maloney. I don't know. Whatever the fuck. But like Maloney is a highlight. Feora and
Colonel Nathan Hardy. I just looked it up.
I'm pretty sure they never say his name.
I'm pretty sure.
I'm fairly sure. But Feora is a great physical threat. That Smallville fight, while I wish that Clark kind of made more of an effort to kind of keep it from destroying Smallville, because that town's fucked.
Yeah.
The Smallville fight is aggressive. It's fun. It's cool. It's everything you'd kind of want to see in a Superman fight. I think the climax of the movie with the World Engine, they got too much going on. I think they needed to concentrate the action in Metropolis, lose the tentacle fight in the Indian Ocean.
Yeah, that was weird.
Because you can still have all of those moments by using the Kryptonians.
Yeah, that was the other thing too. It's like, dude, you have these three or technically four if you count Clark, but these other three that have been trained killers for all these.
It's not just those, Zod, Feora, and the fake non. It's a whole gaggle of Kryptonians. There's like a dozen of them.
Yeah.
So it's just like, okay, all of these fuckers can have the same amount of powers as Clark. Use them.
Yeah.
Use them. You have them fuck shit up and have Clark, make them stop fuck shit up.
Yeah.
That's literally, you have an A, B, and a C solution. That's it. But they decided to do a tentacle fight in the Indian Ocean.
I chalk that up to look at our CGI. Yeah, so that's what I chalk that up to, honestly.
And it turns into destruction porn by the end, towards the end of that.
I was going to touch upon that when you mentioned the fight, because I completely forgot. But that was one of our biggest points of contention when we both first saw it and we both first were talking about it, was that you absolutely hated that. Where I was more so like, I mean, I understood your points, but I was like, well, look, it's kind of earned. But you were just like, he's Superman. He cannot destroy the city. He's meant to uphold the city. I'm like, dude, it's two superhuman beings fighting. Shit's bananas.
Yeah, I know, but it's also a fake city.
Yeah.
So you can make up the rules. But no, I do see your point. I do see that there are going to be consequences to that amount of speed and strength. It's just, at a certain point, I think like the last 45 minutes is just pure, unadulterated. And I think it was compared to this, it is just 9/11 porn. It is buildings falling left and right, just for the sake of showing off CGI and buildings falling.
Yeah,
it's just it at a certain point you just say enough, just enough, but honestly, all of that pales in comparison to Lois and Clark having a makeout session on the ashes of thousands of American citizens and some of the remains of Kryptonian genetic code, which could be in the billions. So essentially, Lois and Clark are making out on the ashes of billions.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is not the place to have that kiss.
And honestly, so this whole fight sequence of the city destructing is one of the like opening scenes of Batman versus Superman. Mm-hmm. And we'll touch upon that, to where Bruce is looking up and shit's getting destructed, which is essentially his...
You want to transition into BVS?
Yeah, absolutely.
While we're here?
Yeah, while we're here. So essentially the opening of BVS, and again, I haven't watched it minus...
Or do we want to talk about the Zod death? Because we need to talk about the Zod death.
Shit, we had such a good transition, though.
I know. Well, hold on. Let's kind of merge the two. We'll talk about Bruce at the end of Man of Steel, because all that stuff is happening at the same time, right. And then we'll dovetail into Man of Steel.
Yeah. So the opening scene of Batman vs Superman is Bruce in the city as it's getting the shit beat out of it by Zod and Superman.
And let's make this clear. This version of Gotham and Metropolis are like Oakland and San Francisco, where they are separated by a bay.
Yeah, they're super close to each other, which I found odd, but to each their own. Because I always consider it like Chicago and New York, right? Like just
and I have a little bit more information. They did that out of convenience. They thought it would be better for the story to have them that close.
Oh, of course they would. You couldn't just say, "Oh yeah, Clark," or Bruce just had to go to Metropolis for business. That you couldn't have just done that angle.
Yeah, he couldn't have just been there coincidentally, which is just as valid.
Yeah. Anyway. So Bruce is watching the destruction of all these cities, and he's doing some acrobatic shit, saving babies before they get crushed.
Yeah,
and he's like, "Argh!" And like he's pissed off at Superman for doing that, which I get, but they could have used the scene in my mind that would have been better is that if Bruce happenstance upon Superman and Amy Adams making out on those ashes, and Bruce goes, "You're literally doing this now on the ashes," and that's his point, because I think that would have been such a more potent position.
I see what you're getting at. I mean, to talk about that opening sequence, just because it does have that crossover and it's a different perspective. I mean, part of me is interested to see kind of like a little master cut where they kind of interweave all of that.
Yeah, that would have been cool.
That would just for the challenge of it, I would like to see that. But I mean, it's a good introduction to Bruce, to be quite honest, because he's showing off some driving skills. He's doing some hero stuff when he gets into the city and gets to the building. He's saving lives. He's running into danger. That's what the hero would do.
Yep.
So it's a great introduction to Ben as Bruce, but
I'm sorry, just before you make transition to the point on that, I just love that he's not like, "Oh, let me go suit up real quick." No, it's like, dude, I don't give a shit. I
gotta go
inside. Yeah, I gotta go. I gotta save these people. And it wasn't like the director's going, "No, you have to go to this phone booth real quick and change." No, he's like, "No, fuck this. I'm Batman. I don't care if anyone sees me doing athletic shit. I'm gonna save these people's lives."
Yeah, the issue I think you can I can get out of this at least is that it seems like he's only really going to Metropolis just to save the people in the Wayne Enterprises building that gets destroyed.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, it's just that building falls. We find out that it's a building that incidentally gets destroyed during the Zod Superman fight, and it topples from heat vision. And it leads to a couple of scenes where Bruce is saving people, but it's just the setup to all of that is that Bruce Wayne was concerned about the people and his property than the entire city and or planet and that's my read of it. I'm open.
It's an easy read.
I'm open to alternate interpretations.
I mean,
of it.
I didn't necessarily see it on that though. I see your point. I saw it more as that he was already headed there anyway, right? And that's since he's already in the vicinity. It's his building, it's his people, so he wants to try to save as many of his people as he could. Not to say he didn't want to save the others, but he's like, look, my focus is here because the world's going down amongst me, so let me try to save my family.
And we can add on top of that, this is a Bruce that lost to Robin.
Yeah.
Exactly. Which, one of the things that I kind of despise about what Zack Snyder is doing, he's doing the J.K. Rowling thing where he adds additional context that nobody really asked for.
Yeah.
You find out that this Robin that was murdered was Dick Grayson.
Yeah, it's
not Jason.
Yeah, we'll get into that. I mean, once we hit that point, but
I think we can get into it now just a little bit before we jump back to Zod. It's just like, he wanted to have his cake and eat it too. I mean, it's just,
my thing with Snyder and his role and his story arcs through this is he's taking every good story from Batman, Superman, whatever, and he's trying to throw them all in 2 fucking movies instead of building up to these arcs, which are fantastic by themselves and would make such great content by themselves, but he's smashing them into all of these fucking movies.
I have a theory about this. I think that, and I told this to Chelsea many times while we were watching these 3 movies, because they, between Man of Steel, Batman vs Superman, and Justice League, it is essentially a trilogy. I think Snyder is more concerned with iconography than understanding the importance of the iconography itself.
Interesting.
So he will take things from Batman from Dark Knight Returns. He'll take things from All-Star Superman or Superman Birthright or whatever, Death of Superman, and just put it in the movie because it's a reference and it looks cool. But
you just mentioned literally 4 fucking standalone stories.
I know. It's mixing and matching so many different things that are comparable, yes, but each one of those things are doing something different for their respective characters. Superman is an asshole in Dark Knight Returns because it's from Bruce's perspective.
Yeah, exactly.
If you had Dark Knight Returns from Superman's point of view, and you had all of the information that Superman is getting and nothing about Bruce, the inverse would be true. Superman is the correct one. Batman is the asshole.
Yeah, because Superman's
he's going too far.
Batman's well and beyond. He's a vigilante. He's not abiding by the rules that we're set. He's essentially just about doing everything but murdering people in this universe. And so, that would be an interesting, if you call it like Superman, I don't know, Superman Returns. Which
I don't know what you would call, that's besides the point. But I mean, that goes to the crux of the problem with Snyder is that he wants the substance, but he doesn't want to get to do the work to get to the meaning behind the substance. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. 100% makes sense. And that's
how you get a Superman who shows up in the costume without having earned it.
Yeah.
At least in my head. And that's how you get to, to bring it back to the Zod fight. I mean, I think that's how you get to that murder or that killing of Zod. It's because, you want to try and teach Superman a lesson, but you're going the wrong way about it.
Yeah.
It's like, and I think, I want to talk about the Zod death because I know we both have opinions on it.
And they're pretty far as far as the spectrum. Like on Zod's death, for me, I found it as a necessary evil that sometimes good men have to do.
Yeah.
Zod obviously is a force of nature who was not going to stop. He was literally going to destroy everything with Earth and make it his own Krypton. And Superman saw this, understood this. Instead of trying to put shackles on him and put him back into the Phantom Zone or some other way, this is an early Superman who doesn't necessarily have access to all of that knowledge, all of those things right off the bat. And he's fighting this force who's his peer, but also more than his equal because they have the same genes, have the same powers, but Zod's been fighting a lot longer than Clark with these powers.
And he's built to fight.
So honestly, like when he snapped snapped the neck of General Zod, I was like, yeah, I get it. He didn't want to, but he had to. So I get it.
Yeah, I mean, I wish
it was. I mean, don't get me wrong, John. I wish it was something different. I wish they would have found that Boy Scout ending.
The problem is, I don't know how to get there. I can't figure out how to get there. Because like even in any version I come up with, I think it's a train that's headed to that, and I don't know you can get past it.
The only way you can get past it and make an alternate is if A, Clark doesn't blow up the ship.
Yeah.
B, he beats Zod to the pulp to the point where Zod's like incapacitated, and then Clark gets information from the ship to how to build an Phantom Zone again, and then he puts Zod in the Phantom Zone.
Yeah, because I mean how they put everybody, all those other Kryptonians in the Phantom Zone is just by an explosion. They use a bomb.
Yeah,
they turn his rocket into a bomb, and that opens up the Phantom Zone again. So it's just, there's potential there for like a sequel. You can bring back Feora looking for vengeance.
Yeah,
but I mean, at this point, we don't know what Warner Brothers is planning. We don't know how a Man of Steel 2 would work, if it's even a plan. We know that they want to use Henry Cavill possibly as like a cameo, like a support role, more like a Hulk in the MCU as a comparison, which I don't know. I mean, hopefully the Superman and Lois show on the CW puts a lot more interest in getting a solo Superman film back up into screens, but we'll have to wait and see. But I mean, I don't like the killing because it just, my answer is a lot more bullshit than yours, Anthony, to be quite honest, because I don't feel comfortable with Superman killing. I don't think he should kill, and that goes to a lot of my feeling on superhero stuff in general. These things are meant for kids. I think it's meant to show that killing is not the answer. It is the ultimate last resort, and you have to be damn sure. And I don't feel like he was damn sure.
To that same logic you just gave, John, the dude destroyed all of fucking Metropolis, like practically that whole portion of it.
I know.
If you're it should be a last resort, yeah, dude, if he is kept alive, Clark is going to let this dude destroy the other half of the world? Nah, dude, snap his neck, call it a day.
I know, but it's just like maybe a better writer than me would figure it out. There's a way I just can't see it. It just sits wrong with me.
Yeah, he's supposed to be the ultimate Boy Scout. He's supposed to be the guy that says, "General, would you like to take this fight outside?" Like he's supposed to be that character of, at the end of the day, I'll defeat you, but I'll do it to the point where I have to.
Yeah.
Which goes back to Superman the animated series when he finally fights Darkseid. He's like, "Oh, thank God! I've been living amongst these cardboard cutouts all my life.
Now I can really let loose.
So, makes sense.
Yeah. And on that point, I think we can properly transition to Batman versus Superman.
I don't want to give this more than 5 minutes. I like this fucking train wreck of a goddamn. And
to be honest,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. What pisses me off is that there is potential, because I think, and I'm in the minority, and I think you are too, is I like Affleck's Batman to a degree. I like how he portrayed it. I like the scene when he's just talking with Alfred. And again, this is jumping into Justice League, but I like the scene with Wonder Woman where he's just having that heart-to-heart with her as he's like wrapping up his wound, saying like, yeah, I'm just a fucking guy, but I have to get this shit done. I have to see it through. Yeah.
No, I think we can just focus on Batfleck for right now. I do agree. I really like what Ben does with Batman. I like his Bruce. I love the banter between him and Alfred. It is very much
Jeremy Irons is great. I think he played great goddamn Alfred.
They work incredibly well together. I was really looking forward to, at the time, whatever they were going to come up with for a solo movie for this Batman. But I have issue with the fact that he is so brazenly killing. It's again Snyder misunderstanding Dark Knight Returns. Like,
Yes.
It is, and you punched upon it. Freudian slip, I guess. You touched upon it earlier, where it says, like, in Dark Knight Returns, Bruce is being incredibly brutal. He's not killing these people in Dark Knight Returns, but he's effectively maiming a couple people.
And he's doing that because at this point he's like, what? He was in his 60s or something at this
55.
point.
He is 55 in Dark Knight Returns.
So he's 55
and he's broken.
Yeah, he's a broken man who's gone through. If quintessential Batman is early 30s, he went through 20 years of seeing the worst of the fucking worst in Gotham.
Well, if you look at Miller's, because Miller has a beginning and an end for his Batman. It's year one and Dark Knight Returns, and whatever comes after that. Because there's a multiple sequels. But Bruce starts at 25, and by the time we come up on him in Dark Knight Returns, he's 55. So that's
30 years, man.
30 years. Maybe 5 of those he's not been active, but it's 30 years of him, almost 30 years of fighting, of being broken, of losing essentially your brother, a child, to the worst person you will ever meet in your life.
So at that point, he doesn't give a shit. He's gonna break neck. He's gonna break arms. Like, he's going to use that fucking mud pit as his surgery table.
Yeah, but what Snyder misses is that the Batman is a creation of an 8-year-old. And an 8-year-old doesn't want to kill people. They just want what's fair.
Yeah. And that's the thing in Dark Knight Returns as well, John. Like you said, he's brutal, but look, he still can't kill the Joker.
He doesn't.
Yeah, and he doesn't. He gets to the point where he still has a code and he still has a line.
He walks the line way too much.
Yeah.
And that's the part of the point of the book. But Snyder's application of that is that Superman's presence erases the line. There's no need for the line anymore because there's a new line.
Yep.
And
saying nope, I got to kill Superman. Like, Superman's got to die. He destroyed a fucking city. I have to kill him.
Even if there is no evidence that he is going to be bad, I have to take that as an absolute certainty. Yeah. That's a line that's one of the lines in the movie. If there's even a 1% chance of him, being our enemy, we have to take it as an absolute certainty, which is fucking insane logic.
Yeah.
And
again, like, if you wanted to play this route of Dark Knight Returns, you should have gave us multiple Batman movies to build up to this point, to give this logic, to give this line of thinking any sort of credit or any sort of credence, if you will.
And also, this movie opens again with the to jump back to kind of how the movie happens in order, at least. They open with the Wayne murders again,
of course.
And Bruce running into the cave and
and becoming Bat Jesus. Oh, I forgot about Bat Jesus. Oh,
we saw that and it was just like that. There are way too many fucking dream sequences in this movie. That's one of them.
I literally suppressed this memory of that fucking
Bat Jesus
scene because it was literally like 5 minutes, 10 minutes into the movie, and I go, oh, and I remember to the nth degree that was when I went, oh, this movie's not going to be good, is it?
No.
Yeah. So, god damn it. See, this is why I didn't want to talk about it, John. I only wanted to give it 5 minutes, say it was shitty, and Snyder's a fucking asshole. Because I knew this shit was going to start creeping back up in my conscious from my subconscious, and I was going to remember Bat Jesus. God damn it.
You're welcome. No, if I have to suffer through the ultimate cut of this movie, which I can't, it's been so long since I saw the regular version of this movie that I don't know the difference between the two. So I have another 45 minutes added on for no fucking reason.
Man, I mean,
I did this for you, so you didn't have to rewatch it.
I give you props, but I would not have wasted any more fucking time in Snyderverse, man.
Well, I did it for conversation purposes here, and we're having a good time here at the Ludic Lounge.
Because you're a fucking mad lad is why.
I know, and so are you, my friend.
But you did it for the loyal listeners at home, and I appreciate that.
I hope you appreciate this. I love you all.
All 2 of you. One of them being me.
Maybe 3.
That's true, because it'd be me, John, and then whoever the third is.
Yeah, that changes a lot. Anyway, Yeah, I hate their version of the Wayne murders because it's Thomas being the aggressor because he moves to punch the shooter, and that's what causes the gunshot. So it's this machismo bullshit that Snyder's a little bit known for because he likes big muscles and shit. It's a criticism that comes up in Justice League that I think is a little earned in a particular scene, but I think I know what he's going for. But I don't like Thomas being a big macho burly man, and I think part of it is due to the whole recent development of an alternate universe Thomas being Batman, a very aggressive, violent Batman.
Yeah. Or what was it? Flashpoint.
Yeah, and they keep alluding to Jeffrey Dean Morgan coming back to do that, but I mean, who the hell knows? But it's just like compare it to what Nolan did with what I think honestly has to be the definitive take on that on that murder is that Thomas tries to de-escalate.
Yeah. It's like, here, just take my wallet. Hey, just go.
It's okay. It's okay. It's okay. And it's just an accident.
Yep.
That's the long and the short of it. It's just this, yes, this guy made a horrible decision to rob them, but it's just, at the end of the day, he didn't want to kill anybody. He just was trying to look out for himself. But he had to live with he did it and he had to live with the consequence. But and then it becomes a bigger thing for it's all story stuff for Bruce because he has to work through that.
Right. He's got to work through past Joe Cool. That's me flexing my comic book knowledge.
Joe Chill.
God damn it.
Joe Cool is fucking
Snoopy. Yes, John. When I said it and I was like, that's Snoopy, and then you were, man.
I got you, motherfucker. I got you.
I just wanted to flex the ounce of comic book knowledge I have right there, and I already fucked myself up just by that alone.
It's all right, buddy. I just like to tease. Yeah, to a lot of the Batman's, like, I think the suit is honestly one of the best translations of it.
It's the Dark Knight Returns suit, which I love anyway. Like,
short. Yeah, the shorts outside of the suit, the trunks, but it's Snyder just trying to translate Dark Knight Returns onto a screen, which he shouldn't have tried to put it in this movie. I think the better version of this movie is Batman and Wonder Woman doing spy shit. Spy versus spy, but it's Wonder Woman versus Batman, and then at the climax they start working together, and that's the formation of that partnership.
He also not only tried to do Dark Knight Returns with no preamble, no pretense for it. He also tried to do Death of Superman.
Yeah.
Within it too, and you're like, what? These are two ginormous arcs that you have to build up a lot of credence to.
Yeah.
And Jesus, man.
And you're introducing the Trinity of DC.
Yeah.
This is Wonder Woman's film debut.
Yes.
And it's in this garbage.
And not only that,
like 2 minutes.
You're doing it with introducing the worst portrayal of Lex Luthor I have ever witnessed in my life.
It hands down, it has not aged well. It didn't age well to begin with. It got worse. Eisenberg, honestly, Jesse Eisenberg, I like him in other stuff, but it's like, I know what they're getting at. They want Zuckerberg in DC. That's why you get Jesse Eisenberg.
But they wanted it to be Zuckerberg Joker. I
know. It's just like his choices just don't match. Like when post Crisis on Infinite Earths, Luthor was rebooted to be to be Trumpish. He was supposed to be a version of Donald Trump because at the time he was very considered high and mighty in society. You say whatever you will as time has gone by. I certainly have my opinions, but we're not going to get into that.
He tried to make him a modern day tycoon, right?
Yeah, it's a tech bro. He's a tech bro.
Yeah,
he's a tech bro like Zuckerberg, like whomever. Zuckerberg's the big example. But
Bezos, I guess you can make the argument. Yeah.
Bezos in some way. Yeah, I honestly, if you wanted to do Lex Luthor in that vein, Bezos is probably the way to go. He's already bald for one.
That's true.
So, I mean,
he'd have been a better choice than Jesse Eisenberg.
Yeah, I mean, true. But I'm just talking in scope of what you would use as an example. You would probably Bezos is probably the better way to frame Luthor in 2020 than Zuckerberg.
It would have hit better with the audience. They could be like, "Oh, yep, I get it. Like he's this fucking super rich, super tycoon guy."
Yeah, super rich asshole.
And if you're going to introduce him in Superman versus Batman in this fucking shit show of a movie, you could at least do it to where he draws parallel and you can play with the story a little bit to where he's drawing a parallel with Bruce Wayne, right? Because Bruce Wayne, same level of money and everything. It's just he's using it for good, whereas Lex is using it for evil. You could have played, there was something in that story you could have played with that would have been a great, interesting thing that would separate like robber barons versus, benevolent philanthropists.
Yeah, and you're touching upon the thing I mentioned earlier, where this should have been its own movie. You should have split out the Batman Wonder Woman side, have them up against Lex, make it a spy versus spy type thing.
Because that spy scene, like you mentioned, where he's doing the shit inside of LexCorp, like that was fucking excellent. Like
and you get the interaction with Diana. And it's just like you're not sure where she's standing. She's standing on her own, but you don't know if she's willing to help Bruce. You don't know whether she's there to advance some kind of, mischievous thing or whatever have you. You have good conflict. You have good chemistry. It's just that they just dumped so much because they thought it would get them the money that they didn't see on Man of Steel. That's the long and the short of it.
Yeah.
And we haven't talked about Larry Fishburne as Perry White. We could talk about it's very small. Yeah. I like him as Perry.
Yeah, I do too. Good old cowboy Larry did a good job as Perry.
Yeah. Jesus Christ. Oh, Jesus. But no, Eisenberg's choices are just wrong. He's just annoying. He doesn't feel like a threat. It's more of an annoyance. His plan doesn't make any sense.
Yeah,
it's all just to pit Batman versus Superman in some allegory that humanity is doomed. And even you can see it in the figures that we go to for guidance.
Yeah, he's talking about the Clash of the Titans, essentially.
Yeah,
like these two gods are going to fight each other, and I'm going to rally the mortal men around me, and I'm going to be the savior, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, dude, just shut the fuck up. If I wanted to spend a minute to think about this stupid-ass idea, I can. But that's so anti-Lex Luthor that it just doesn't make any sense. It should have been called Lex Luthor. He should have been called some other fucker in this.
It feels like he's doing like Jim Carrey in Batman Forever.
Exactly. He's chewing the scenery, man.
And it makes sense for Jim Carrey to do that as the Riddler in a Batman movie because the situation allows for that level of.
No, you know what? He's playing Tommy Lee Jones as Two-Face in Batman Forever.
Yeah, because Jim Carrey's honestly putting his heart into that.
Yeah,
as the
and
Riddler.
Two-Face doesn't make any sense of how he was played.
And we're still bitter that it's not Billy D. Williams.
Oh, it should have been Billy D. Like, holy shit, man. He was waiting for it. We all were waiting for it. Why didn't they just fucking do it, man?
Because they're fucking racist. I don't know. I can't say that because I don't know. But I'm assuming.
There's too much. And then the climax of it where they start to become bros is over the fact that he says the word Martha
that their mothers are both named Martha. And that what gets me is that the writers of this fucking movie, who made more money than I will ever make in my entire fucking lifetime, thought, oh, this will be a great way to make them friends.
Let's talk about dead mother and a mother
shared coincidence names.
Yeah,
it's you're right. There's just so much in this movie, like
Martha. What did you say her name?
And speaking of, I feel like they nerfed Diane Lane in this movie. I don't like her nowhere near as much as I do when she's in Man of Steel. She's just a damsel in distress. She doesn't, she still has attitude, but it's just like she feels colder. They're putting her more into the Jonathan position.
Honestly, they did the thing where it's like, hey, remember her from that thing we did a couple years ago?
Yeah. I will say that the Batman fight to save her is good. It's ripping off the Arkham games, which is probably why it's good.
The fight scene between Superman and Batman, spot on.
Action sequences are great.
When they're fighting each other, I'm like, this is like Dark Knight Returns. This is fantastic. I love the hell out of it.
Mm-hmm.
Except the whole Martha portion of it.
You like the seeing what's happening.
Yes.
It's just that the underlying reasoning behind this fight lacks the substance because it's not there.
It lacks literally 30 years of Bruce building up to this point where, of course he's against Superman because look at Superman's ideals. They totally clash with mine. Fuck Superman. Fuck Clark and his Boy Scout ways. His communist ways or socialist ways or whatever.
Because he never learned the truth I learned. That kind of shit.
Yeah. And oh my God.
Like the doomsday of it all, and
literally the doomsday.
I know. Yeah, it's just like doomsday feels so forced. It's just
forced. It was like, oh shit, I have to think of something even bigger and better than this Dark Knight Returns. Oh, Doomsday, Death of Superman. Let's throw that in there. That's my Zack Snyder impression for those listening.
I think that's more David Goyer, but
whatever. Probably, but
yeah. I mean, it's Doomsday. They've tried to make Doomsday more interesting, like he's a result of like a Kryptonian genetics experiment or something. If my memory serves me correctly.
Yeah, I can buy that. Sure,
it's just like it's like in the context of the death of Superman, where Doomsday comes from is irrelevant because all you need Doomsday to do is be this unstoppable force that is the one thing that
primal. It's I kill.
Yeah, it is primal. It is just I have no choice but to react with equal force. And whatever creates him, whatever his motivations are, it's ultimately irrelevant, absolutely irrelevant. And they redid an adaptation of the Death and Return of Superman in the animated films not too long ago, and that's a far superior version in my head because it feels more impactful. It's just like there's so much bullshit in this movie, and it's trying to reintroduce Batman. It's introducing Wonder Woman for the first time. It's trying to set up a plethora of movies by forcing a search for the rest of the Justice League, which you cut all that shit out, the movie's still shit. Yeah, but it's still it has no bearing.
They are literally trying to smash all like the MCU approach of 10 years of character building, character development, intertwining these stories ever so slightly to the point of First Avengers, to the point where they just smash all the shit together and it makes no goddamn sense.
Yeah, and all of your characters suffer as a result for it. I mean, Martha is a shell of who she is. Lois just turns into she's not, I wouldn't say she's a shrieking damsel, but she doesn't have any motivation to be Lois outside of what it means to be Lois with Clark.
Yeah.
She's not any kind of individual. It's all about her in relation to Clark.
Yeah.
Which Lois deserves better.
Yeah, she absolutely does. And again, Amy Adams was just kind of hit and miss within this one as well. She was like in and out, and whatever have you.
We're not even talking. We haven't even hit about, and I think this can kind of transition us to Justice League. Because we have that. We can talk about the nightmare sequence in Wonder Woman and then move to Justice League. But you have that nightmare sequence where it's Darkseid
which turns
into a dream sequence within a dream sequence because Bruce wakes up twice.
Yeah, it's like, so why you just want to show off Affleck fighting? Like,
In a desert, in a cool looking outfit. I mean, yeah, yes, he looks cool in a trench coat. Great. What purpose does this scene serve?
none. It's just to like, oh, we need an action scene now. Dream sequence.
I mean,
Boom.
they want to set up Darkseid and in a Justice League sequel. I think that's that's what they were trying to do, but it contradicts itself because it's just like
deliver on that because it's not Darkseid in the next movie.
I know. That's due in part to Snyder departing and Justice League. Well, we unfortunately are going to have a caveat because we are getting that Snyder version.
Oh God.
Next year. So we're gonna have to do it, buddy. I'm sorry.
Fuck. If we're gonna do it, I'm gonna live tweet it. Or not live tweet it. We're gonna do like one of these Zoom calls or whatever.
We'll do it live.
We're gonna do it live. We're gonna do. Yeah, we're gonna have to do something like that, and there's gonna have to be alcohol involved, and I'm gonna have to scream.
Yeah, well, we could talk about that off air just to kind of plan that out for very, very far in the future. But I mean, the nightmare sequence it looks cool. Only because it does, but ultimately I feel like what it's designed to do doesn't work because it's just confusing. You get the Flash showing up for the first time in the movie, and it's just confusing, and he's in armor, and you don't know why he's there, and it's shit about Lois being important, but it's everything about this Lois doesn't feel important.
Oh yeah, and they kill off Jimmy Olsen, by the way.
And they shoot him in the fucking head in the first 20 minutes of the movie. And that's Zack Snyder's definition of fun. And you can look up his quote on that because that's just, oh my God.
So overall, because I don't want to spend any more time on BVS.
No, I'd rather the one last thing we can do is talk about Wonder Woman and just let that transition to Justice League.
Wonder Woman the film was excellent. I don't have Chris Pine was excellent. The chemistry between him.
No. I wasn't talking about Wonder Woman the movie. I was talking about Wonder Woman in BVS because I haven't rewatched Wonder Woman.
Okay, well, we're not going to talk about Wonder Woman today because we want to do a rewatch, and then
it's a great movie.
It's a great movie. We'll have a rewatch of it and have some thoughts.
That's
our initial review on time.
Yeah, but time where we're going, time has no meaning. We're in Snyderville. Time doesn't mean anything anymore.
Oh, Jesus.
But like Wonder Woman in BVS, she's fine. She's really good. I like she's great in that fight with Darkseid or Doomsday.
Yeah, she was a bright spot. I will give her.
She plays well against Ben Affleck, but it's just like when she's interacting with the both of them, there's not really much outside of the fighty. So we don't really get much until Wonder Woman where she is able to cement more. And that brings us to Justice League. This is post the success of Wonder Woman. This is also half of Zack Snyder's film because he left for tragic reasons due to family stuff.
You don't want anything, like that. I understand. Like I'm not going to bash him on that because I can completely understand. What I will bash him on is that the only good part of this fucking movie is the scene where Wonder Woman's talking with Bruce when Bruce is all fucked up and bandaging himself up. That's the only good thing in that fucking movie, John.
It's a really strong character moment between Affleck and Gadot. It's Bruce and Diana, just coming to terms with each other, because they had that conflict earlier on where Bruce kind of says, all you're doing is just hiding and pining for Chris Pine.
Yeah, that was quite funny.
That was not intentional, by the way. But it's like the problem with Justice League, and a lot of this stems from Snyder's absence because of family reasons, and Joss Whedon's failure to be good. Yeah.
But to be fair, again, I should be the last one defending Joss because of recent things. But to be fair. Yes. Again, it's not like what he did for like Avengers because there was multiple movies to build up to this point.
And he had complete control to build Avengers from the ground up. Here he's coming in to work off of something that has already been in progress. What he adds, I can't tell you what he adds, to be honest. It's hard to distinguish what is Snyder and what is Whedon. We won't be able to tell if what the difference between the two is until we get the Snyder version of Justice League next
Which
year.
I know he's going to do. It's going to cut out the scene with fucking Wonder Woman and Batman that I love, because that's probably the only Joss Whedon moment in it.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, like, part of me wants to think that the ones where Ben Affleck's wig is a lot more obvious are the Whedon scenes.
Probably.
Yeah, just look for the green screen and the more obvious wigs.
And honestly, they should have just kept fucking the mustache of Superman, honestly.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. That's probably the most famous thing out of Justice League is that Henry Cavill had to have his upper lip CGI'd because Paramount did not allow him to shave off his mustache that was grown for the Mission Impossible that he was in, which was purely petty, on part of the studio, because the director of that Mission Impossible movie, Chris McQuarrie, said it's fine, you can do it, let him shave it. And Paramount was just like, yeah, no, he's under contract and needs to stay in, and that created $300 million to erase a mustache. So
probably, I mean,
like the gist of this movie is that Steppenwolf, who is
you don't know what we can find. Why don't you come
don't
with me?
Put this stuff on YouTube because they'll strike this out.
I mean, I wasn't really using the real words anyway, so it's fine.
I'm protecting us, motherfucker.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, the gist of this movie is that Steppenwolf, who is the uncle to Darkseid,
which is the stupidest fucking thing.
Yeah, I don't know if that's how Kirby made it. That might have been a stupid fucking thing that got added on later. Jack Kirby.
He's his fucking uncle.
He's a fucking uncle. So Steppenwolf is a general of Apocalypse under Darkseid, and he comes to Earth to get the MacGuffin of the movie, which are 3 mother boxes, and that necessitates the creation of the Justice League. Yeah. So Steppenwolf shows up in a very different character design at the end of Batman versus Superman. A lot more monstrous. He's a lot more humanoid in this. Essentially, Justice League is like if you mixed the 2 Joss Whedon Avengers movies into one and then stuffed a steamed turd inside of them.
Yeah, pretty much.
So like the Wonder Woman parts, like Gal Gadot is there and is doing a very great job.
Yes.
As I think that opening reveal of her is immediately iconic on the Statue of Justice.
Yeah.
That rescue scene is great and was pulled from pretty recent Wonder Woman comics. And it's a great one. It's a great rescue sequence. It's a great moment of a hero doing their job. I think it's shot a little weirdly. I think you can tell the difference between how a man shoots it and how a woman shoots it. An action sequence like this. Way too many low shots that might be looking up the skirt, but that's what happens when you have dudes, I guess. And a lot of criticism was put on this movie because they felt that the Amazons who do show up in this movie were a lot more sexualized. I kind of personally, I disagree based off of the evidence between the 2 movies plus Snyder's preferences. He likes to show off muscles. He likes to show off, people who are in shape and are doing incredible things with what they do. So I think there's a sequence involving the mother boxes on the Themyscira with the Amazon, where there's a lot, there's buff, Amazon ladies who have their midriff showing. I think it's not meant. I don't think it's meant to be sexualized. I think it's just meant to be Zack Snyder showing off. Look what these incredibly strong people can do.
Yeah. No, I didn't take it as that. I took it pretty much the same way you did. But overall, man, it's
a mess.
It's just like run, grab this box, run, grab that box, run, and it's just like, dude.
And then the third one is run, get this box, use this box to resurrect Superman. Forget about this box, and then it gets stolen.
Yeah, it's just a steaming pile of shit. And
it's
honestly,
a steaming pile of shit.
I don't even want to spend any more time on it, John. Like, there's nothing outside the main good things you just mentioned about this movie. It's fucking garbage.
Yeah, and yeah, I mean, there's a lot of controversy around this movie because immediately upon release, the fanboys were calling for the Snyder cut, which Snyder has teased as existing. It never existed. There was remaining footage to be completed, CGI and film scoring and all that stuff. So there was ultimately probably a rough cut of this movie that was nowhere near to release. And I think it's in part Snyder just kind of playing on the emotions of his fans to get him to the point where he can do this movie again. Which, if it gives, maybe if he's doing that so he can get some kind of closure on it, fine. I mean, I hate to put words in this guy's mouth. I don't know him this way from Sunday.
I don't.
So I'm hypothesizing based off of what the information that's been given to the public.
I see it as a grab for him to do it again and be like, hey, remember I did these movies? Let me have another shot and I can make it better. Like no,
yeah.
you done fucked. Like this entire DC extended universe. It's a hot pile of shit with a few bright shining stars, and hopefully moving forward, honestly, if they want to do it, what comic was it? Was it Earth 2? Something like that, where they blew up the entire fucking Justice League and like, okay,
Earth. Yeah, Earth. At the time of the New 52, they had a comic called Earth 2, which was supposed to be about the Justice Society of America, the JSA, and they killed off the Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman like in the first issue.
Yeah. And essentially, that's what they're doing now anyway with all this multi-universe shit.
I mean, kind of. I mean, it's hard to guess. I mean, there's no way you give up Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. I don't think.
Well, I mean, let's be real. With COVID running rampant, like we're unsure of what anything's going to happen now. But
yeah, I mean, we don't know. Theaters are probably not going to be open until sometime next year. I don't.
If we're lucky at this point.
If we're lucky. So I mean, everything's probably right now on the cusp of release, and we'll bring this back to Justice League in a minute because I have a few more things to talk about. I know you're kind of tired of it.
I'm so done with this. I'm so done with this garbage.
On the cusp of release, we have the Wonder Woman 84, the new Suicide Squad movie that James Gunn is in charge of, the Robert Pattinson Batman that is written and directed by Matt Reeves of Planet of the Apes fame, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's Black Adam.
Get your dirty hands off my batarang!
I'm back from the dead to talk about the Batman. I'm Charlton Heston.
Did you say Martha?
Martha.
There's like one.
Why did you say that name?
There's gonna be one person listening to this that actually understands who the hell Chuck Heston was.
It's probably Bronson.
Probably.
Bronson, if you listen, I love you, buddy. I miss you. I hope you enjoy that joke.
Oh, God.
Black Adam, Flash, and the Shazam and Aquaman sequels. That's what's on the plate. So, like, Wonder Woman, like, I hate Ezra Miller in this fucking movie. I think he is, like bar none, like, I hope to God that all of his shit was Whedon's. Because it was just garbage. It's like a cave. A bat cave. That is an actual joke in the movie.
Yeah.
It's I don't like Ezra Miller. I don't think he, I haven't seen enough stuff of him to really make a full judgment, but it's just like what I've seen him in, I've not been impressed.
And I think it's not just with Ezra Miller, but just with the Justice League in general, John, and this goes to Ezra Miller, et cetera, is why is this Justice League only consisting of, 4 members?
6.
Aquaman, Batman, Cyborg, Flash, Wonder Woman,
Superman.
Okay, 6 members. I'm sorry. Why is only 6? Where's my Green Lantern? He is a staple of the.
And they just make a reference to a Green Lantern in the big, exposition fight that, shows why these mother boxes are on Earth to begin with.
Yeah.
And we don't get another Green Lantern. We never see a Green Lantern again.
And again, they could have flushed all of this out. You
Yeah.
could have had a Green Lantern movie intertwine, and that could talk about the interdimensional bullshit. And
Or
then,
use the Green Lantern movie to introduce, the new gods and Darkseid and all that shit. Just like there is a way, we might need to do. This is like the DC trash episode. I think the next episode should be how do we make a cohesive DC universe on movies?
yeah, and then we can talk about the good DC movies, Wonder Woman.
Yeah,
I still need to watch Shazam. I have yet to even watch Shazam. Honestly.
Oh, you'd be in for you're going to be in for a treat.
I know. I own it. I literally own it. I just have yet to actually sit down and watch it.
Promise me you'll watch it tonight.
No, I need to go to bed, John.
Oh, fuck you. To bring it back on Justice League real quick, so we can wrap it up. Ray Fisher is Cyborg. He's good. I think Snyder kind of fucks up his not Snyder. Whedon fucks up whatever story.
He had some words against Whedon too. So.
Yeah. This is following recent statements by Ray Fisher that Whedon was an absolute shithead on the set of Justice League and was completely disrespectful, which tracks following a lot of more recent dialogue about Joss Whedon being a piece of shit. So fuck him.
Yeah.
Even though I really liked some of his stuff when I was younger, it just doesn't excuse the fact that he was a piece of shit to people and didn't need to be. Yeah. I think Jason Momoa obviously is somebody that's being kept because Aquaman turned out to be a success.
And he does an okay job. It's fine.
Yeah,
I can dig it.
So can he? He can dig it.
Yeah, right.
It's like a bat. I can dig it.
I mean,
bro.
Okay, all the bro stuff aside, I think he does a good job. I think some of the casting choices in his individual film are just kind of meh, but overall, like I said, he's fine. I could add that on there. But again, sprinkle in 2 to 3 other Justice League members and have some banter bounce off of all of them. And I think you can do something to rectify this holy hell of a Snyder bullshit.
Yeah, and the one silver lining out of Justice League is that it's the one time I felt that Henry Cavill is really embodying Superman.
That's fair. I mean, I guess I can give you that. I mean, it's been years, but I can see that.
It's like, he doesn't. He's not in the movie too much. When he gets resurrected and he's all like grim dark, and then he has this interaction with Lois and he's back to himself. And when he's interacting with the rest of the Leaguers, it feels like Superman. He's more concerned. He's concerned about saving people. He's smiling. He's making jokes. Is this, there's a moment where he zooms back into the fight and, he's like, is this guy still bothering you? And then he punches Steppenwolf.
Yeah.
It's like that feels like Superman.
Yeah. Like I said, that's with good writing. Henry Cavill's a damn good Superman.
Yeah, I know. It's just, I doubt they're going to give him the chance to be that kind of Superman again.
But again, like I said, with COVID, everything's kind of up in the air to begin with. So,
yeah. So
overall, John, I think, what do you say? Let's give it a wrap.
Yeah, the concluding thoughts on Snyder's tenure in the DC universe.
There you go. That's ending thoughts. Good night, everybody.
That's Anthony's ending thoughts. Now I'll bring it to me, who will be all fancy about it. Hello, I'm fancy. I think he started out positive with a little bit of wrinkles, and then it just went straight to shit. Man of Steel, for all of my issues with it, I'm a lot softer on it than I was a couple years ago. I wish it did.
Compare it to now, John. That's why.
Sorry?
I said it's because you have garbage to compare it to now.
Yeah,
like Man of Steel compared to Batman versus Superman, not bad.
No, yeah, I mean, it's just like when you look at the scope of what he was doing, it's just complete utter betrayal of what these characters meant. When they were created, how they were evolved. It's a bastardization. It's missing the point. It's all style but no substance. and no meaning. It takes all the lessons of what Marvel Studios did and just goes the opposite way. And like like whatever character arcs do exist are poorly created, not really couched in the meaning of these characters and the truth of these characters. It's just so they do things just so that they can get to iconography. Yeah. And that, I think, is the greatest betrayal. And, you know, I hope that I never have to see Batman versus Superman or the theatrical cut of Justice League ever again.
So yours is just a fanciful way to say. So, John, thank you for coming back. Thank you for lounging.
I'm always coming back.
I fucking missed you.
It's good to be back.
But it's late, and it's great to be with friends again.
I will miss you in the night.
I will miss you. I might kiss you.
But only if I say okay.
Overall, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, we thank you for lounging with us. It's been real. It's been fun. But when it comes to Snyder's DCU, it's not been real fun.
Absolutely not. So you can find us on Twitter at the Ludic Lounge. You can email us at theludiclounge@gmail.com. You can find me on Twitter at just_John_0891, and you can find Mr. Antonicus Maximus at RojoLoco44 on Twitter. And on behalf of myself and my brother, from another mother, Antonicus Maximus, thank you for lounging. I fucked it up. I fucked you up.